Om Vakradunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Vadade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
Paramatmane Namaha
Atadvitiyodhyayaha
Tadvidiyodhyayaha
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
Bhagavanuvacha
Sloka number 20 Najayate mriyate va kadachit
Jayate mriyate va kadachida
Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha
Nayam budhva bhavitha va na bhuyaha
Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha
Najo nityashashvadoyam puranaha
Nahanyate hanyamane sharire
Na hanyade hanyamane sharire
Atma na jayate nam kadachit mriyate na jayate na mriyate na bhutva bhavita iti na bhuyaha na Atma ajaha nityaha shashvataha puranaha sharire anyamane api na hanyate atma iti. Atma is ever indestructible, doesn't undergo any change. It is a witness of all the changes. Therefore, it doesn't undergo any change. It is untouched. Atma is avikriyaha. That is discussed. The changing and the changeless. The physical body, shariram, all the other koshas, panchakosha, on the other hand, is subject to change. They are anatma. Anatma is vikriyaha. Atma is avikriyaha. When the ahankara, the ego, identified with the body performs an action, a kriya, it is a physical body that performs the action in keeping with the ahankara's intention. It is the body that does the karma. It is the mind that does the karma, not the atma. The legs move. The angani, the physical limbs move. The hands move. The body shrinks or expands to a certain extent. In that, you can stretch it in order to reach something, or you can shrink yourself in order to get out of a tight place. Thus, the body undergoes all kinds of contortions. The body is at the disposal of the karta and undergoes a lot of change. It also becomes an object of action when someone else pushes it. The body is therefore vikriyavan. It is vikriyavan. So it is changes. Not only does it undergo change, but it is meant to do so. It can bring about a change. The body is born, jayate, asti, exists, grows, vardate, undergoes certain modifications, viparinamate, and declines, apakshiyate, and finally vinashyati, dies. Therefore, because it is vikriyavan, karavan, Vikaravan, which is subject to change. Body, anatma, subject to change. Due to the lack of understanding, ajnanam, aviveka, this physical body and atma are taken together, mixed up. Nicely mixing these two, atma is taken to have a physical body as an intrinsic attribute. Atma is taken to have a physical body. The atma now assume the physical body as an intrinsic attribute. That therefore body becomes intrinsic to atma. The mixing up of these two because of aviveka, indiscrimination, has happened. What happened is body now the atma has taken the body to be its attribute, intrinsic attribute. So for anything happened to the body is happening to the atma. The body is hurt, atma is hurt. The body experiences sukham, atma is sukham. Body experiences pain, atma experiences pain. All the anubhava of the body is the anubhava of the atma. That is the mix-up. Therefore, I become as good as a physical body. Without body, I cannot think of myself as something other than that. Therefore, here the discrimination, the viveka required is that while the deha is subject to change, degaha vikarava, because it is anatmatvat. What about atma? Atma is not. It is neither born nor does it die. In the shloka, it is given jayate mriyate, only the first and the last change. Vikara, important vikara. What about the vikaras happening in between? Vardate, viparinamate, vipakshiyate, vinashyate, not mentioned. They are all understood. Because of the mentioning of the first and the last, the in-between changes are also well understood. Therefore, the first and the last vikaras for the body, birth and death, are negated in Atma by this shloka. So therefore, when the first and last are not there, how can there be the vikaras which are in between? That is also not there. Only when it is born, it will vardhat, it will grow. Only when it grows, then apakshiya. Only when it apakshiya, then only vinashanam, etc. That is not there for Atma. Therefore, Atma was ajaha, never born, unborn, was not born. Because there was not a time when it was not in order to be born. It was always there. Nor will it die, because na bhutva bhavita va na. Nor it will die, because having not come into being, there will never be a time when it will not be there. There will not be a time when it will not be there, because it has never come into being in time. Therefore, it is not subject to birth or death. Therefore, what? It is not subject to time. Time is a cause. Time is the factor which is responsible for all changes. Therefore, Atma is not touched by time. Therefore, Nityaha, nor does it undergo the other changes that happen between birth and death. Therefore, it is Shashvata, permanently unchanged. Therefore, Shashvata, Nityaha and Shashvataha. The question then may then be asked, if Atma doesn't decline, does it grow? Is it the same Atma? Is it that when you are born, there is a nascent Atma, a baby Atma, which then becomes a child Atma, then adult Atma, and so on, and finally old Atma? No, Bhashyakara said, it doesn't grow either. Yes, Shankaracharya introduced a small definition for growth. Vriddhi. Vriddhi means growth. Vriddhatu, to grow, to augment, to increase. Any growth means that something was not earlier should come into being. For instance, a young man, see, growth is also a change. What was not there before, it comes to being. So something undergoes changes to become something. That is what called growth. The previous condition gone. Now new condition has come. That is growth. For instance, a young man previously did not have a mustache, and therefore he don't have to shave. Now he has both a beard and a mustache, and he has to shave every day. This is growth, vriddhi. Something new has happened. Is it like that for Atma? Is there? No. Atma doesn't grow. Does Atma grow? In any growth, there are always new features introduced. Either something is added to what is already there, or it expresses itself in some new way. Either way, the arrival of a new feature makes the thing grow. For instance, a small sprout begins to grow. It branches out, puts out leaves and flowers, and becomes a full grown tree. Therefore, growth always implies new features added to a given stem, and the new feature that has been gained means that which grows is no longer the same. Therefore, Atma never grows. But the growth involves some addition or some deduction. That is not there for Atma. Atma was always ever grown, meaning that it never grows. It is infinite. It is Purnam. That which is Purnam, complete, unlimited. How can it grow? Grow into what? So, when everything is because of that how can that Atma grow further? So therefore, only that which has a feature and attribute can grow and decline, wax and wane, bulge and contract. If it is a color, for example, it will fade or a new color may come. Something can happen to it, whereas the Atma having no features whatsoever, no limbs or attributes, it is Purana, ever new. Even when the body is destroyed, Anyamane Sharire. Therefore, it is very clear, Sharira is not Atma. Sharire Anyamane, Atma is not destroyed. Atma is different from the Sharira. Shariram is Atma, but Atma is not the Shariram. That is the difference and the same time non-difference, non-difference and difference. Sharire Anyamane Atma, Agam Atma na Anyate. Not destroyed is to be taken here in the sense of change, so as not to confuse its meaning with the use of Hanti and Anyate to kill and be killed in the previous shloka. All that is being said here that Atma undergoes no change whatsoever. Shankaracharya concludes his commentary of this shloka by saying that with reference to Atma, Krishna negated the sixfold modifications that we see in any given physical body: birth, existence, growth, modification, decline, and death. It's called Shad Vikara, Shad Bhavaha. The meaning of these two verses from the Shruti, therefore, is that Atma is free from any manner of Vikara, modification. In no way is it subject to change. No one can effect a change on Atma because it is not available for objectification. Anashino Prameyasya, and doesn't have any feature or attribute, Avayava, limbs, to receive such an action. For Atma to be subject to any action, it must have Avayava, parts, to receive. Atma doesn't have. Therefore, Atma cannot become an object of action also for something. Nor does Atma itself undergo a change to perform any action. Therefore, both being Akarta and Akarma, Karma is not an object of action. Atma is, therefore, Ashochya, doesn't deserve to be worried. It cannot be a source of sorrow. Where is Shochya then? Then where is a Shoka Karanam? What deserves worry? There should be an object available for sorrow, a situation capable of causing sorrow. The Atma cannot cause sorrow because it doesn't undergo any change, nor does it subject itself to change. How then can it be Shochya? Atma, whose Swarupa, nature is fullness, Ananda, Purnaha, can only be Ashochya. So therefore, if Atma is Ashochya, then what is Shochya? Anatma cannot be Shochya because Anatma is subject to change. The very word Anatma is that which undergoes changes continuously. Therefore, it is not Shochya Vishaya and neither Atma. Therefore, there is no Karanam for Shoka. Therefore, Ashochya Nanvashochastum iti. Further, Bhagavan Krishna says in the next shloka 21. Let us read. Veda vinashinam nityam
Veda vinashinam nityam
yayena majamavyayam
yayena majamavyayam
katham sapurushah partha
katham sapurushah partha
kam ghatayati hantikam.
kam gathayadi hantikam.
Veda means Yaha Veda, one who knows. Veda is not the Veda. Veda is a Kriya Padam. Yaha Veda, one who knows the Atma to be Avinashinam, indestructible, Vinasha Ragitam, it is Nityam, Ajam, Avyayam. That person, Katam Sap Purushaha, whom come hanti, whom he can kill or whom he can cause to kill. Means he can neither be a karta nor karagita, neither doer, neither he can be the doer nor cause can instigate others to do. One who knows Atma to be indestructible, Nityam, Ajam, Avyayam, that is myself, Atma. So he can neither be a karta nor karagita. That is the meaning. O son of Partha, the one who knows this self, the Atma to be Enam, Ajam, Avyayam, indestructible, Vinashinam, Ajaha, timeless, unborn, and not subject to decline, that is Avyayam. How and whom? Katam Saha, how, whom, Hanti. How and whom does that person kill? Kam Hanti, Kam Ghatayati. Whom does he cause to kill? So question is asked. It is not really question which requires answer. It is apeksharte prashnaha. The question doesn't require answer. It is a way of presenting that Atma cannot kill. Atma it itself cannot kill, nor cause someone or something to kill. That is the idea. The one who thinks that Atma performs the action of killing, or any action for that matter, doesn't know Atma, and the one who looks upon the Atma as an object of action of killing, or any other action also, doesn't know Atma. This is because, as we saw in an earlier shloka, Atma doesn't kill nor is it killed. It is nahanti nahanyate, neither karta nor karma. To put it positively, the one who takes Atma to be neither the subject nor the object of action, he knows the Atma. So this is presenting it positively. What has been pointed out so far was summed up here by Krishna. His initial statement was that Atma doesn't become the karta or karma of any kriya, including killing, hanana kriya. So Atma is akarta, akarma. Having introduced this point, he explained that this is because Atma is not subject to change. Avikriyaha, therefore, na karta, na karma, akarma is not akarta, akarma. Having given the reason, he concluded stating that the one who knows the Atma knows it to be Avinashi, not subject to death or destruction. Very important line. One who knows the Atma knows it to be Avinashi, not subject to death or destruction. Who knows the Atma to be Avinashi is not subject to death or destruction. It means he must be Atma. Atma is Avinashi. The one who knows Atma to be Avinashi, not subject to death, means what? There is no difference between him and the Atma. He knows himself to be Atma. And Atma doesn't undergo any change. Therefore, Aham Atma doesn't undergo any change, not subject to destruction. The body's change is called Bhava Vikara, a technical expression to include Jayate is born, Vardate grows, Viparinamate metamorphosis, Apakshiyate wanes or declines, Vinashyati dies. Because Atma doesn't have this last Bhava Vikara, it is referred to here as Avinashi. The one who knows Atma as one that is not subject to death and therefore timeless is called Atmajnaha, the knower of Atma, Atmanam Janati, iti Atmajnaha, Jnani ityartaha. The Atma is also known by Atmajna, that is by the person, the knower of Atma, as unborn, Ajaha, and as that which doesn't undergo any kind of decline, Avyayam, Avyayaha. Unlike Atma, the body is expended as the years go by. That is why it is described as a spent force. The job being done, the game is over. All that is then discussed is in the past tense. I was like this, I was like that, and I would have been like that, etc. This is Vyaya, expenditure. Whereas the Atma is Avyaya. In Sanskrita grammar, Vyakaranam also, an indeclinable is called Avyayam. that which doesn't undergo any change in any situation, regardless of number, gender, or case. Sarvasu cha vibhaktishu, trishulingeshu, sadusham trishulingeshu, sarvasu cha vibhaktishu. Yata na vyeti tat avyayam. Yanna vyeti tad avyayam. That is in Sanskrita Vyakaranam. Here also Atma is avyaya, doesn't undergo any change. It is as it is, ever forever. Whom does one kill or cause to kill? Bringing up one more point in his summary, Bhagavan Krishna, he asks, whom does that person destroy? Kam hanti. Whom does he impel, instigate to kill? Kam ghatayati. There are two types of actions reflected here. One is the action that you do, another is the action that you make others do, causative. In a robbery, for example, there is the accused number one and the accused number two. One may have performed the act of driving the getaway car, while the other performed the act of driving the driver. There is someone who performs the felony, and there is someone else behind it. The one behind the felony is the accused, and the one who performed is an accomplice. It's only an accomplice. The accused is an important person, the kingpin, whereas the other is only a pin. But both of them perform action. How can one who knows Atma perform the action of killing, and whom does he or she kill? Where is the person being killed? Where is that action? The question is not really being posed here. For instance, we are not trying to find out by what means the killing is done. Nor are we trying to find out why the person does it or whether he or she kills. This is not the intent here. That is not the intention here. That's why apeksharte prashnaha. The question doesn't require answer. It is the statement. Rather, how can one kill? Means it's not kill. Whom does one kill is being looked into. There should be some vikriya on one's part in order to perform the action. And Atma is a vikriya. Karma requires some change on the part of the doer. And Atma is a vikriya. Therefore, how can Atma do karma, do action? If Atma cannot do, then kam hanti, how can Atma kill? Killing is also an action, therefore, kam hanti, na hanti ityartaha. If it is na hanti, cannot kill, how can it cause to do also? That also not the kam hanti, kam ghatayati. How can it kill? How can it perform an action? How can it cause to kill? How can it perform? How can it cause to do action? Both are not there for Atma. A doubt may arise here. If there is no vikriya for Atma, and Atmagya knows that the Atma, the I, is not the performer of any action, how then can that person perform any action? What is to be understood here is that Atma doesn't perform any action. It doesn't kill or cause anyone to kill because Atma doesn't even wish. It is a swarupa of every wish. The wish is a namarupa, a thought. And if you press the thought, it ends up in Atma, wherein there is no thought anywhere. Thus, any given thought or desire is mithya, and the doership is also mithya, and the karma is also mithya. So everything is mithya. If you analyze who the doer is, you find that the doer is nothing but consciousness, chaitanyam. That is, the doer disappears in the chaitanyam and is not there at all. When the doer is there, chaitanya is there. Whereas in the chaitanya, there is no doer. Chaitanya is atma, consciousness. There is no doer. Therefore, there is only drama. There is no real doer. Only an as though doer. It is as though he or she hears, as though listens, as though talks, as though walks, and as though stands. Eva, only Eva, because there is no kartrutvam for Atma. There is no doership in Atma, because Atma is always free. The notion that I am the performer of the action is the source of action we talk about here. Where is an action without a karta? Without the doership, kartrutvam, there is no real action at all. Therefore, the doership is the one that gives the blood, bones, and flesh necessary for the action to be an action, and for the karma bala to be the karma bala, the result you enjoy. The whole cycle is based upon the kingpin, the karta. Then who is the karta? Who is the doer? Without the karta, there is no karma or karma pala. The karta, the doer, is defined as the one who decides and performs karma, kriya, action. he or she has Kriya, etc. That's why Kriyavan. And therefore can choose from the hundreds of verbal routes for doing that are available. The doer can choose to kill, to speak, or to do any of the varieties of action possible. But for the Atma, which is avikriyaha, free from any change, there is no kartrutvam. Where then is a question of how and whom with reference to killing. Katam ghatayati, katam hanti, kam ghatayati, kam hanti. The word hanti here is only contextual and has nothing to do with killing as such. Shankaracharya says that the expression is purely with reference to an action. What kind of action does a person perform? And what kind of action does he or she cause anyone else to perform? A question may then arise here. If a person is a sarvakarma sannyasi and has given up all the karmas, will he or she not perform any action at all? Does the person not continue to perform some actions? Does he or she not teach? Does the person not do anything, not even eat, walk, or talk? How can you say that the one who still performs these actions is a sarvakarma sannyasi? Sarvakarma sannyasi is the one who doesn't have the notion that I am the doer, aham karta. That is the one who doesn't have kartrutva buddhi. For such a person, there is no doership in the Atma. You are not a sarvakarma sannyasi by merely not doing karma. You may be a karma sannyasi. You have given up karma literally by taking sannyasa, but not a sarvakarma sannyasi. Sarvakarma sannyasi means jnani. He has given up kartrutva, no kartrutva buddhi. He knows himself to be Atma, therefore Atma. In Atma there is no kartrutvam. That is sarvakarma sannyasi. Sarvakarma sannyasi means jnani. Jnanam is the jnani. Karma sannyasi is ajnani. Therefore, there's a difference. Even if you do not do any karma, if you have kartatva buddhi, you are still a samsari only. So karma sannyasi is only a samsari. Sarvakarma sannyasi is Atma and is asamsari. Yes, Sarvakarma sannyasi is a jnani, who is totally free from all the karmas. Even if karmas are performed, the jnani doesn't perform any karma. In this, he or she has no doubt whatsoever, because with reference to the Atma, the self, the notion of doership is not there. All that takes place for the Jnani is that the sense organs, backed up by the mind, engage themselves in their own fields of activity. Gunaha gunesh vartante iti matva na sujyate Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna is going to say later in the later chapters. Therefore, the Jnani doesn't look upon himself or herself as a karta. This is the actual meaning of sarva karma sannyasa. The real meaning of sannyasa. Who is a sannyasi and what is the real meaning of sannyasa? The person who is a sarvakarma sannyasi is called a vidwan, panditaha, one who is wise. All the karma that the vidwan has done so far, all the prayers, yoga, and other forms of discipline, and even a life of sannyasa, have found their fulfillment in this sarva karma sannyasa, jnanam. Thereafter, Shankaracharya said, there is no question of such a person doing certain karmas in order to create some result. There is nothing more to do. All the prayers have been fulfilled in this particular discovery. And it is for this discovery alone that the prayers and other karmas were performed. In this way, Shankaracharya connected Vedanta Shastra to Karma Shastra. Karma Yoga is meant for this alone. Thus, sannyasa is really Sarva Karma Sannyasa. For the Sarva Karma Sannyasi, there are no karmas to be performed. The point here is that the rituals enjoined by the Shastra need no longer be performed by the Sarvakarma Sannyasi. If the person continues to be a householder, he or she is purely playing out previous karma, prarabdha karma, and whatever one was doing is continued. King Janaka was a case in point. Although he was considered a wise man, he continued to be the ruler of a kingdom and was not bothered by the role at all. Like Janaka, one can be a wise person and be in the world or be a sannyasi without playing any roles, having given up everything to pursue knowledge. Either way, it is possible. Being a jnani has nothing to do with what the jnani seemingly does or doesn't do. That is what is meant by Sarvakarma Sannyasa, as established in the Shastram and elaborated upon here by Shankaracharya. When you say I am affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma, that is something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object doesn't know the Atma. Samsara is ignorance, ajnanam, is such that not only does a person look upon himself or herself as a karma object, but also as a karta, which only heightens the ajnanam. One who looks upon himself as a doer, otherwise one could not be a sinner. Unless a person performs action, there is no way of sinning, or is there any way of gathering karmas and karma pala. Some people do not take the body as Atma, but believe that there is a survivor of this body. Most religious people believe this to be so. Even the nihilist Buddhists believe that you are born again and again. Therefore, moksha for them is realizing that the Atma is a zero, non existent. They believe in the survival of the Atma until enlightenment, and whatever the concept of enlightenment may be. Thus, in all religions, they talk of an Atma other than the physical body, referred to as a soul that survives death. Any given soul is a karta, he or she is a sinner, and so on. It is a belief. But at the same time, people do look upon that Atma, the survivor, the soul, as the one who is subject to all kinds of karma, all kinds of punya, papa, imperfections, and so on, and as one who may get some kind of bliss experience later. All these beliefs are negated here by Krishna. Vashikara mentioned specifically those who consider themselves to be great scholars and yet say there is no way of knowing the Atma. They say that the knowledge of Atma, free from kartrutva doership, is not possible, and therefore Sarvakarma Sannyasa also not possible. It is, even though they are scholars, they say, since they don't know what Atma is, therefore Atma is, the jnanam is difficult, that requires a lot of preparation. A Sarvakarma Sannyasi knows that. Sarvakarma Sannyasi doesn't mean doesn't do karma, he does karma, at the same time doesn't have kartrutva buddhi. Because of his seemingly doing karma, therefore people think Atma can never be free from kartrutvam. But kartrutvam of Sarvakarma Sannyasi is mithya kartrutvam. There is no real kartrutvam. That kartrutvam is bhadita, negated by jnanam. Therefore, Sarvakarma Sannyasi knows Agam na karta, I am not the doer. That is the topic that we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanta Shanta Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om
धन्यवादः
Dhanyavadaha